Okay, nice crowd today. Maybe we can get some help bring some more chairs in here. I'll get up on stage. I want to welcome everybody. This is an AIFI live Tuesday event where we have an expert panel discussing AI tools that you can use today for your business. I want to also thank Fame Venue. We're here at the famous Fame Venue with Broadway Studios in North Beach, San Francisco. Want to welcome and thank the staff here as well, all of our great hosts. So help yourself to refreshments in the back on the right, and there's a bar on the left. Wow, we have a great crowd here. So I want to bring up our speakers. We have the live stream going, is that correct? Okay, let's see. Let's bring up our moderator, Chetan. Where are you here? Okay, come on up, grab a seat. Sure, I think, actually left side would be good. We can pull this out a little bit this way. And then we have Malinda Kohler. Thank you. And Jouko. Karolyn. Anna. Come on up. Okay, I want to thank everybody again for coming, and I'll let you take it from here. Thank you very much.
Awesome. Welcome, everyone. My name is Chetan, and I'm going to be moderating tonight. And so before we start, I think it'd be great to just get a pulse of the audience. Who here are AI founders? Awesome. Who here is an engineer? Who here is an investor? Nice. And who here is none of the above and just excited to be here? Awesome. Welcome. So to kick things off, I think it'd be great if we just do introductions. So if each one of you want to take about 30 seconds to a minute to just share about who you are, your company, and yes, please, why don't you kick it off?
Okay. Hi, everyone. I'm Malinda Kohler. I'm excited to be here with all of you. I've been in education and tech for 2 decades. And of all the 8 startups that I have been at, and 2 companies that I've founded, and all the schools in Italy, Spain, and the US that I have taught in, one very common theme is that I'm constantly doing things that I have never done before. I am now the CEO of Conversa AI. We use conversational technology to empower the workforce and help companies build top-performing teams. And I'm excited to be here with all of us doing something very new.
Hello, I'm Jouko Ahvenainen. I'm coming from Prifina, and we are user health data company, meaning that we basically empower people to collect their own data, wearable data, data from sensors. It can be also your social media data, your finance data, and so on, and basically have applications so that people can really utilize their own data. My background is also very long time in data. I have founded a few companies in the data analytics and AI over 20 years. Many years ago, I made also my first degree in computer science and actually studied neural networks already then. And it has been a kind of vision with some other people many years that when we have done many data analytics and AI applications for different kind of enterprises, that how it would be possible also to make basically applications and empower consumers with their own data. And it's very much what we are doing now. And it also looks like that the timing is now right.
Hi, everyone. What a great pleasure to be here among all these experts and learning from all of you as well. My name is Karolyn Zeng, and I'm the founder and CEO of Fifth Universe. And we are focusing on building a platform to help every person in this planet to lift your Newtonian mindset into the quantum level exponential transformation. And we have been living with this Newtonian mindset for centuries, for thousands of years. It's time, especially with the AI, LLM revolution, it's time for us to rethink. Is our Newtonian mindset working for this exponential AI new world? It's probably not. So it's time for us to evolve to the dimensional, super cognitive, super intelligence and quantum. And also, we are very lucky now in our generation, we have knowledge, a lot of quantum, development. And so we kind of have a little glimpse, a little peek into that little window. Who are we? We are our, human body has a lot of quantum events every day, especially inside our skulls. And so much has been happening. So Fifth Universe is tapping into that energy and trying to help all of us, including myself.
Hello, everyone. I'm Anna. I'm founder of Theneo, which is an AI tool that generates API documentation. So we take this API spec and we generate that documentation mostly for developers. So I used to be an engineer and I hated writing documentation. And during the pandemic, when I had nothing to do, I couldn't go outside, I started working on Theneo, and now it's been leveraged by more than 5,000 companies, and we have our own language models we developed way before it was cool. So yeah, happy to talk about our model and other topics.
Fantastic. So first question is that we all are seeing the news every day, all these crazy new tools that are becoming available. You guys are creating some of them, and a lot of other folks out there are creating other tools. So I'm curious, for each one of you, as you guys are building your companies, how are you using AI tools to expedite your workflow? Organizational processes, engineering, marketing, even product development. And for this, we can do popcorn style. So feel free to speak up or respond to each other as you're sharing.
Yeah, I can take that. So for me, it's been really interesting. So we have automated lots of aspects of marketing and emails, and I would say that when it comes to code analysis, etc., we are still trying out different tools. I don't think we have leveraged it as much as, let's say, different marketing tools and automation, and it has.
So real quick, it'd be awesome for everyone, I think, if you could share the tools which you guys are excited about, or which have been working for you in marketing or otherwise.
Yeah, I mean, the ones that we've been actually leveraging, most of our team members are actually engineers, which means that we kind of most of the times hack our own solutions. So for example, we use OpenAI's API and make kind of automated in the ways that work for us. So there are different tools that we've been leveraging, but mostly it's the things that we have hacked around. And like how we parse the data, how we contact people, etc. Being also English not being my native language, also with some of the email responses, etc., it helped a lot. ChatGPT. Thank you. But yeah, I'm also excited to see. It's going to be interesting how code interpreters and Copilot, etc., could be helpful. I would say that it's still, from what I can say, is that it's still in early stages for that perspective. But for marketing and for us being mostly engineers, it has helped us a lot. It would be really interesting to see for those that are professional marketers if they find that as helpful as we are. But for engineers that don't know what we are doing, those tools have been very helpful, like ChatGPT. And,
So for your marketing, are you using an off-the-shelf product, or are you just building your own thing in-house?
Yeah, so we would, for example, with different prompts, and we also looked at how different, on LinkedIn, you can find this type of different prompts that can be helpful with marketing. For example, I want to achieve this and that, and this is my target audience. I want to build this campaign. What can I use? What are the keywords I need to target, etc. Like even how we set up Google ads and all these things, which we didn't really have prior experience, we're able to leverage, let's say, ChatGPT. So it and also the text that you use for your marketing materials and all these things. Obviously, you need to fine tune it, but when you're giving this target audience and all these things, it definitely has helped us for marketing and communication.
Yeah, one of the most important things for us to get right now, being a very new startup, is just the customer experience and customer success. So we are a conversational AI tool, but we replace job applications with natural language conversations, voice and text. But that means that when any customer or applicant comes to our site, they're also expecting some kind of conversational AI. But we haven't built our product for that. We're building for a very specific use case. So I just met a fantastic engineer who is building Libraria.dev. It's a no-code chatbot tool that powers any company to build an incredible chatbot experience. So we're going to be adding that to our site next week to manage customer success so that it can have expert level conversations with job seekers and with people who are hiring. And this is by far one of the most powerful AI tools that I've encountered, because it's literally just a couple of days we're ready to launch it, and you can build it so quickly. Yeah, one that you should all look for, Libraria.dev.
Yeah, maybe the most exciting area where we are now using is really to test or pilot at how different AI tools can be used also with people personal data, meaning that for example, you can start to talk with your data, as we say it, so that if you have your wearable data, that you can ask, for example, how I was sleeping, how was my exercising, and not only to leave it to that kind of questions, but also combine external data sources, like, for example, what are recommendations for certain for exercising or health, lifestyle, and so on, so that it is coming much easier to combine data from public sources together with your personal data, and then make it really like a conversation, and people can ask different things when basically traditionally it has been just to show certain fixed use to people.
So Jouko, I'm curious, in the actual running of your business, are you also using AI tools?
In our own operations, you mean? I think that especially in the software development, it seems to be that all developers have started to use tools basically to make the coding more effective. Then I think that, for example, in marketing, it's a little bit also question that how you define what is AI and what is not AI, because there are, of course, a lot of tools that you basically test your campaigns and target better and so on. But I don't think that they are always really AI, but it's basically to use data analytics to make your marketing operations more effective.
Thank you. Karolyn, would you like to share something?
Sure. I just want to touch up a little bit. Well, to me, I myself is a non-tech. Well, I came from a molecular biology background, but I love physics and math. And actually, recently, I just went to Stanford to learn Python for 3 months to educate myself. However, my background, like it has been a long dream coming true right now. I wanted to build this platform for a long time, but I have a feeling like the tools were not ready because what I'm trying to explore is something very abstract. Like how do you turn the abstract idea into something visible, visualized it and touchable, and people can relate to it, can develop something new on top of that. So now, the virtual modules are designed before ChatGPT was released. Actually, I got inspired by GPT-2 and GPT-3. When the first poetry book published, a few years ago, created by GPT-2, I was so excited, and it's coming. When I read Ray Kurzweil's book about singularity is near, and he illustrates some of those poetry functionality. Anyway, the story short, this is the exciting moment because we are using the multimodal platform, allow our users to tap into ChatGPT writing, functionality and video gaming and image, all kind of, you can do so much. And also now with the code interpreter coming out, my friends are having so much fun with it. They create video games from the iPhone directly from code interpreter in just a few minutes. So that's really exciting for our platform. We are using the AI, features directly in our platform.
Thank you. I think what you both were speaking about a little bit is some of the power of these tools. And what I find pretty fascinating for all of you guys, just a question for all of you guys, is that we're in this space now. We're in this massive space of change where every day there's something groundbreaking coming out in the news. And so much so, we're seeing tools come out that could severely alter the way you allocate resources. For instance, just this week, GPT Engineer came out, which is allowing people to build entire code base through a text prompt. And so with these types of developments happening, how do you think about planning, budgeting, mapping out your business?
So it's interesting. So, for example, Copilot to also different code helpers, etc. They're great tools to start off. I feel like they're still in early stages for really sophisticated, large code bases, etc. It does help sometimes, and I think it does also help maybe interns, junior developers, and they're great tools. And I think it will become even more powerful over the years. I'm really excited for that. It doesn't really, in reality, as of today, it doesn't really impact the resource allocation and budget, especially for startups. You still need to hire engineers. You still need to hire. Maybe you're in the future. I was looking at this. Someone tweeted that maybe in the future there is just going to be a couple founders, and that's it. You don't need to hire this entire team. So that's going to be very interesting. But I don't think we are there just yet, at least from my personal experience. And I still need to hire engineers and all these things. But still excited for those tools, though.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think it's a change to business right now or even large enterprises. Too many people are employed doing these things. I think that the change will be, maybe it's over the course of the year, maybe it's over the course of 2 years. There probably are going to be some founders who wind up building their entire business right now through AI tools, just owning each functionality. But even being a very new startup, we just raised a small amount. As I think about my go-to-market strategy and my sales strategy and my marketing, or go-to-market and sales, I'm calling the experts that I trust. And if they want to pull in tools that they trust, great. But there are just so many things that I have to get right. And I trust AI for so many things, but to just own an entire job function. And I think about that too with the job functions that we're amplifying. It's to amplify the role, not replace it quite yet.
Yeah, I think that I agree with both of them that with startup, it's always to navigate step by step. So that we don't know what is the AI level in 6 months. And anyway, we must go step by step so that what we can do today, and then we see all the time that what is the development. And sometimes you must be also careful that what is really going on with AI, that because there are many powerful new things now available. I totally agree on that. But at the same time, there are also some little bit hype things that are not so real. So that AI is not yet so smart. It has no awareness and that kind of things. But it is now, for example, very powerful with natural language. So that I think that that has been maybe the most important development in this year, that how you can use text and natural language with your AI. And it can also enable many things in the user interface. But at the same time, there are still many things that it cannot do alone. But at the same time, I think that you must be eyes open every day that what you can do and better utilize it all the time.
I'm curious, is there a publication that you like to pay attention to keep up to date with the developments?
I think that it is more a combination of many publications and many discussions and so on. I cannot name one that would be really the one, but it's definitely so that you must follow the development all the time, because otherwise you can basically notice that that you are doing something that is not effective anymore. And at the same time, I must say that I have seen also some companies that the latest AI development has done the existing products also quite obsolete. That they have developed something many years, and now you can do it. For example, with GPT-4 or generally with generative AI in couple of days, so that it's better to keep eyes open.
I belong to like 100 different Slack communities, getting into Discords, but all of my information comes from people who heard about things, or, I mean, I read a lot of newsletters and follow a lot of Twitter accounts, but there's not like a single publication that will have everything that I need. But as soon as I find out about a new AI tool and like talk to my co-founder about it or something else about it, we're all suddenly talking about it, and then maybe it's useful or maybe it's not. Yeah. But yeah, if there is the single publication, that would be interesting.
I just the reason I'm asking is because I think there's a lot of times there are these hidden gems which you all have sort of mined, and the more we can share, the more we can support each other.
Yeah, I find it, well, LinkedIn is one of the most productive platforms, because I follow, people from Meta, from Google, from, like, just find those up the stuff that are really top notch, engineers, follow them. They have really cool posts every day. And so, yeah, in my feed every day in LinkedIn, it's awesome. Every day, like, automatically, I got all the news from all these people from, the best company. And that's my main resource. But in the meantime, my Google page is personalized. They are feeding me all kind of things that I wanted it. So that's another one. I stick to it. It's automatic. And meantime, like every day, I tell myself, learn at least one new tools per day. That's my requirement for myself, and really sit down and learn about it thoroughly and educate myself, And in terms of using the product, actually recently, like last month, I signed up for Butternut AI. Check it out. I spent only $20 for 20 minutes and build my landing page. And like I have been like I am non-tech, and when I spend some time on big.com, I still feel like, oh, I have to pull this, I have to do that. But in Butternut, just put in the keyword, they regenerate everything for you, and you just have to connect to your domain, and that's it. It's quite simple. So we are in this mosaic. There is an army of companies now like Butternut. They are trying to automate that whole process. Then we can use it. And there's an army of developers there also accelerating this whole process. Just like Paul said, every day keep your eyes open because tomorrow something magical is going to happen and it might be so useful for you. So that's how, like, in terms of budget, coming back to the original question, how we budget ourselves. I was talking to my advisor this morning on this same subject. I showed you the example. A year ago, I was doing budgeting totally differently as a STEM founder. Like, how do I go overseas, get the cheapest team, the best reliable team to build my MVP? That was my mindset a year ago. I interviewed at least 10 different countries, different teams to see, well, can I rely them? This is the cheapest one. Can I rely them? $10,000, $80,000, different prices. Now, being in this new AI era, my mindset totally changed, including publishing my newsletter. Before, this ChatGPT, I would spend 6 weeks for one newsletter. Now I always question myself, can I spend 6 hours to do it? Can I spend 2 hours? Can I spend 1 hour? So the same thing in terms of budget. I spend now $20, 20 minutes to get a landing page. Now, for my MVP, my question like, what is my budget? It's not going to be $80,000 for sure. And it's not going to be 3 months. Normally 3 months, go overseas. Now, if I can get a landing page in 20 minutes, I'm going to ask myself, can I get my MVP done in 3 days? 3 days, and probably less than $300, you can get a decent MVP done. See, we are in a totally new world. So anyway.
Cool. Thank you. So the next question is really is we focus for Anna, who's building a tool for businesses, and I'm curious, what's been the climate of your potential customers to the AI tool set? Are they all excited? Are they hesitant? What are the concerns coming up?
Absolutely. So it's really interesting. When we first started off, the dynamic was very different. I had to sell harder in terms of the benefits of, I would not really even use word AI. I would just say automation. And because businesses cared more about, how much time are you saving and all these things. They don't care if it's AI or you call something else. Now, actually, if you bring up the word AI, they're like, oh, okay. So there is some more kind of understanding that different AI tools can help you with the resources and automate some of the work. It's not that replacing, but it's more about that it can automate the time. And for example, the developers do not need to spend that much time on documenting something that they hate. Instead, they can go back to coding, etc. So that definitely has changed. The kind of their understanding of it. At the same time, there is that aspect of obviously how the data is being analyzed. So especially with enterprise clients. So we have our own model. We are not using ChatGPT or any other AI or anything like that. And for enterprise clients, we are doing on premises. Like everything is deployed on their own servers, etc. We are not analyzing their data. We don't really get access to that. And that makes it easier for them to adopt because lots of enterprise clients do not want to use or have their data sent back to OpenAI or any other third-party providers. So that's kind of the one advantage we have. But it's interesting that the mindset for the enterprise companies have switched as well. They are looking at more automation and how they can use those tools to help their existing employees rather than replace them completely.
Are you also selling to businesses as well?
Yeah, and I agree. There is a change right now. There's almost a fear of missing out if I don't use AI to automate certain things and somebody else will. So it's one of the things that we talk about with recruiting. Okay, before AI, a recruiter could talk to, how many people a day? Is it 8? Is it 10? With conversational AI, you can deploy virtual recruiters to talk to hundreds, thousands of people. But it's about having that conversation and saying, hey, we're not trying to replace recruiters. We're trying to amplify the role of recruiters. And we're being very transparent with applicants that we're augmenting their experience with artificial intelligence, with natural language technology, right? Are people concerned? Yes. But then when we point out the current system of applying and searching for a job and how painful and tedious it is, and how much easier it can be if you just have a conversation with this virtual recruiter, everybody suddenly wants to try it. So I think it's how you frame it in human processes. We're trying to humanize processes rather than remove humans.
Thank you. And so same question analog for Jouko and for Karolyn is consumer space. What is the reception of people? Are people excited or there's resistance? What do you
Yes, I think that people are now excited. Maybe this is the first time that people cannot really, I mean, ordinary people can really somehow utilize AI. So that I think that we have seen that Chat GPT, for example, it has been very popular, and I think that I don't know numbers, but many people have basically tried to utilize AI now somehow. That is, I think that totally new. That before this AI has been something that you can see science fiction movies, but now it is something that you can actually utilize even to make your daily emails or something like that. So that definitely people are willing to try. At the same time, I think that the question is also that how to make those applications and services that people really start to feel useful over time. I think that I already saw some statistics that actually the use of ChatGPT has gone down also now, maybe last few weeks. And I don't know exact numbers now, but definitely it is so that that people must feel that it's also something useful to use all the time, because it's always exciting to try something new, but the value is really uh, seen in that way that people are willing to come back all the time and get something that they feel is useful.
Yeah, thank you, Paul. So according to my experience is two different groups of people. Like my attorney friends, love it. Like she said, oh, I can't live without it now. It's so handy for my cases. And then on the other hand, there's still quite a population. Actually, according to McKinsey's, that number is changing, of course. That even in the U.S., where so-called the most advanced country, and there are only probably like 30 or 40 people are actually really knowing what is ChatGPT. There's a huge population still have no idea. Yeah, I see the big word ChatGPT. I have no idea what that is. So there's still a big population of people don't know about it. And meantime, like I have friends, like 80 years old, got excited. Like, tell me, what is it? I want to use it. I want to have an AI agent to help me, to read stories to me. That is very exciting when you hear 80 years old got so excited. And then I run into the Gen Z, younger generation surprise me. A few of those that they are hesitant about digital world. They are a little bit kind of like probably feeling frustrated by it. And they say, no, we Gen Zs don't like AI at all. We are fed up with that word. So I mix of reaction from my own community. And in terms of that 10% down GPT, I think even myself now switching to Bing Chat, the creative mode, it's the equivalent of GPT-4. And I found it handy, like with the Bing and the Google Bard. I tried both of them and compare them. I did 2 newsletters, covering both of them, comparing 3 of them, like how do they work right now? Google Bard just came out, how do they function, in terms of this and that. I did some experiments with the 3. And now I found I'm switching to Bing, Bing Chat because it's so handy. It's right on my browser. Like ChatGPT, I have to log in. I don't need to log in. Just click. The moment I open up my laptop, Bing is right in front of me, or Google Bar. Depends on which browser I set. So that number switch in some way. That 10%, I guess. Also, there's a good population of people adapting to Bing Chat, and Bing Google Bar. So they kind of like migrating out from GPT. Unless you're hardcore GPT-4 developers, you wouldn't leave that because there's so many APIs, so many Copilot functionality. But now Microsoft, releasing Copilot, and also Google have the Gemini, all these new, multimodal model coming out. There will be also another competition, to OpenAI. So I can see that OpenAI numbers are going to drop, and that's the dynamic we are facing right now.
So we're going to shift the conversation a little bit to data. So the natural friction between privacy and sharing your data. Obviously, if you share your data everywhere, you can have all these really cool, fun apps and services. But there's a real risk of privacy. So I'm curious how you each think about that balance. And also, from a user perspective, what do you think that we should be thinking about?
Great question. I'll start from what we are personally doing at Theneo. So first is that we do data anonymization. So that means that for regular users, by regular I mean non-enterprise clients, what we do is that we remove any company-specific information. So we analyze the API spec. We have our own parser that goes through all the parameters, etc. And we clean up the data and we remove anything that can be specific to the company because we obviously do not want to give the similar suggestion to what that company had. And also we most of the times take the published version, the public version of the documentation also, and we do the similar thing as well. And also, obviously, for us, the data privacy, etc., is really important because most of our users are developers. They really care about that as well. And even though we do not analyze the code repository, we analyze API spec, and for some companies that can be very sensitive. So that's why we do that data anonymization. And for the enterprise clients, we do it everything on premise, so everything stays in their own servers, in their own databases. In terms of what we can do as users, I feel like I'm not the best person to answer this because I don't think, just because I get so excited about the data myself as a kind of engineer itself, I always give the consent for other companies to use my data for research and I've been doing that over the years. For anything that is research, I'm like, signing up, use my data, I don't care. So I'm the worst person to use it from consumer perspective. I will let others answer that.
Maybe I can continue because this is very much the area where we are working so that our model is, of course, that people can have their own data so that we basically enable people to collect data to their own data storage, to their own personal cloud, and then basically run applications on their own data and combine data from different sources in their own data storage so that it's very fundamental part of our business. And we definitely believe that when there are all the time more data and more powerful tools. It is coming more and more important all the time that how people can basically protect their privacy and also make their own decisions that what data is private and what they want to give to somebody else, and maybe in some cases not give the original raw data, but give only, for example, certain analytical results or something like that. And anyway, when I think that many times, for example, the privacy discussion has been linked to social media data, Facebook data, and so on, I would say that when we come, for example, to your health data, your biometric data, your wearable data, your finance data, I would say that it is much more sensitive than your Facebook updates. That anyway you have wanted to post them, but what comes to your own health and biometrics and so on, it's really very sensitive, and I feel that, for example, in those areas, it is very important to have solutions that people can have their own control.
So, quick question. So, as you allow people to have their own servers, are people trusting you to set that up?
Yeah, it's a good question. Of course, it is something that we must be also very transparent and very open how we operate. And for example, in our model, it is so that basically we help people to collect the data and set up the system and also run applications on the data. But it's not that we keep the data, that basically they can select that they put the data to certain cloud and we make it easy to set it up. But for example, if they stop to use Prifina service, they can still have their cloud service, they can still have their own data. So that of course it is something that we must be able to communicate also to people in the right way, that they understand what is possible and what is our role, so that it is definitely very important question for our communication and transparency, that we do it in a right way.
Yeah, I think as a user, Jouko is right. We all have to think about what data is most sensitive and what platforms we're using and what companies that we're trusting. And, when we first launched Conversa, a candidate, a staff engineer, looked at me and was about to speak. He goes, well, what are you going to do with my voice? Where is my voice going? How is this being used? And, we had text as well. It's like, well, you can use text if you're concerned about that. But the concern still is, okay, I'm going to have this unique conversation and share so much information beyond a resume. What is happening with that data? And to all of these companies who are going to work with us to make hiring decisions based on conversational data, we're creating new sets of data together to make hiring outcomes. And they want to know, well, if my applicants, 30,000 applicants talk to Conversa this year, who gets to own that data? Does Conversa get to own it, or do I as the company? And it's constantly understanding the trade-offs. Well, if you own it, here's exactly what you get. Whereas if Conversa owns it, maybe you get access to X number more candidates. And it's just kind of thinking through, what are those decisions? How do they operate now in business? And are we going to break those down, or are we going to continue this sense of data ownership that exists in the space that I work in anyhow?
And talking about that also, like Chetan and I earlier talking about, now you can build a startup by yourself. You can just check GPT, UX, UI, all those, ready the GPT engineer. And I think in the future, you yourself, but very importantly, you need somebody who knows about data, also knows how to protect your IP, and also security of your platform. Those are becoming more important than engineers in the future. People who know very well about policies and a bunch of things. In terms of data now, I see there's a trend going on, is migrating from the Web 2 into the blockchain. And there are some companies are already doing that, like integrating patient-sensitive data in the blockchain, and that gives them protection, also ownership to that data. So now it's very important how do they claim the ownership and also make money out of their own data to monetize your own data. So there might be in the future, you have choices. You can give your consent to your company to platform, like, do I want my data to be back to the LLM to be trained? You can choose. You can say no to it. In the meantime, you can probably choose, right? Let's go to the blockchain, and I want to monetize my data from that function, right? So that it will be multi-channel in the future.
Thank you. So I think now we'd love to have some Q&A from the audience. So does anyone have a question that they would like to ask our experts?
Get a mic up here. There we go. We'll start right here.
Hi, Alex Resnick. Building a stealth startup working at LinkedIn. I want to follow up on the last part of the conversation about the safety of users' data in the, I guess, AI revolution time when everything is being fed to LLMs. Have you guys considered storing the users' data on the client mostly and having maybe some kind of a distributed system to like a peer-to-peer between clients or any kind of end-to-end encryption between user's device and LLM itself, especially with code interpreter being released a couple days ago? That seems like doable technically right now. Thank you.
Maybe I can comment from the consumer data point of view that yes, we have looked many different models. I would say at the same time, I think that we must be also quite practical that what is the effective solution at the moment and what can be the options in the future. And this distributed model, I think that one question is that there are so many different kinds of distributed models also. So that, for example, what we are doing, it is distributed in that way that basically its consumer, its individual has his own or her own data storage. But then when it comes to, for example, blockchain or these a kind of peer-to-peer models, I think that we would like to see more stability in that area to really utilize them. Blockchain might be a good option in the future for certain contract models, but it's not yet really solution to store your data, and it's hard to say if it will be. Anyway, one important aspect is also that when you make solutions, you want to have something that you can count on them also in the future. And for example, in blockchain area, there have been so many different technologies and some come and some go. So that I think that the question is really that what you can do today and what is the roadmap, what you like to do in the future, and then you try to combine these things and also keep your eyes open in this area all the time.
Definitely agree with Paul. We are aiming to, protect our users' data in a way, trying to integrate it into the blockchain, and then also they can monetize their data. Yeah, now actually there's a paradox because everybody's going after data, wanted the data to integrate into their LLM to be, and now it's lacking. Everybody's hungry for data. So that actually is a good paradox because now every company is protecting their own data, which is good for the consumers. In the past, everybody's open and they're all scrapping all over. But now everybody's like, no, don't touch my data, and which is good for the user in some way. So I look at it that way.
Maybe another question? Wait, over here first.
You can go.
Well, no, go ahead and I'll.
I was wondering, about the timeline. For which reason, do you think it's like 2 years? And I'm feeling that my personal usage and also the graphs and the mapping of AI that I'm seeing, I feel that I feel that it can replace maybe 5 people. Maybe by creating a startup, we need 3 people rather than 5. So, well, in the time frame period that you described, I feel like it was not always much in my own experience. So, yeah. Why do you think it's this way?
So if I understood, the question is, in what timeline will it replace people, or will start to replace? Or
Always, so it can be both. Sorry for this. It can be generally brutal to say this way, but it's always, destruction and creation. So yeah, to put it more positively, what are the creations and what are the destructions that you see in the future of jobs and use cases too?
from engineering perspective, I think that I don't know. It's really hard to say about the timeline because we are seeing lots of progress, and it's amazing how fast things have been shifting this past year. But at the same time, for example, I don't think at this stage is what we are. That we'll see that in 2 years it will replace engineers. I think that you can, depending on the product you're building, yes, it can help you with your first MVP. You can also leverage other tools and other APIs to kind of validate your product, etc. When it comes to complex products, I don't think that at this stage, from what I'm seeing, both from Copilot, other versions that I have seen as well, that it completely replaces engineer. But in other works from marketing, sales, I'm not an expert. I can only speak of my experience that it has helped me a lot. But it's going to be interesting of maybe, I don't know, 4 or 5 years those jobs will be replaced. I don't know. It's really hard to say how also people will be leveraging those tools. I think it could be that it's more of how others will be leveraging the tool versus being replaced completely. Also, at Theneo, our goal is not to replace technical writers completely, right? Our goal is to help engineers, especially when it comes to internal APIs and automation, etc. You still need technical writers, and I think over the years you will still need technical writers, especially when it comes to public-facing documentation, because the level of kind of they bring is still very different to what the machine can generate. That's just my look on this.
About timetables, I usually say that it's not so difficult to predict the future, but the timing is difficult part. So that there are many areas that you can see that this is going to happen one day. But is it 1 year, 2 years, 10 years? It's in most of cases impossible to say. And how much people are needed, I think that it's also a kind of development in that way that certain things that are hard to do today will be easy to do in the future, but at the same time many companies must do also much more. So that some people say now that in the future you can do whatever product with 3 to 10 developers. I don't believe that. I believe that there will be companies that have maybe 10,000 developers also in the future, but maybe it is so that that if you today need 1,000 developers to do something, maybe you can do it with 10 or 100 in the future, but actually you must do also much more because everything is also developing, so that that also the requirements are higher what you do, so that in that way I think that there are so many variables.
It's very hard for a job to be completely automated out of existence. I mean, if you look across history, so many hundreds of jobs that no longer exist. But what's really interesting too is that as new technologies develop, we'll have new job titles. And the tech industry, because it evolves so quickly, is famous for that. DEI strategist was not a job 10 years ago. And even just now, prompt engineer is a new job title that we're seeing all over the place. So as we automate jobs out of existence or just automate them and amplify them, right? We also think about, well, where are we specializing our human energy next and what new jobs are going to be created? So I think that part of it is just as interesting. People are going to be needed, but it's, how many people to accomplish what tasks, and then what is everyone else going to move on to specialize in?
According to the speed, and look at November the 30th, ChatGPT came out, commercially available, and in 6 months, so much already happened. And OpenAI is going to close, many of those models by the end of this year, and you can see like the next generation of new models already coming out to replace the old model, in 1 year, and the speed actually, according to what's happening, it's going to be doubled and then tripled very fast. Like it's 6 months now, and the next, you can see that it's not a linear development. This whole LLM thing, because of its nature, it's highly fluid. It's not the traditional AI. The traditional AI took 30 years to be where it is right now. It's a very solid state. And some companies rely on that one software for 10 years and never change. And that's why some companies offer software, they say, this is such a great business. Once you develop the customer, you can rely on it, you can sit on it, eat on it, and for 10 years, you don't have to think about anything. And because they are so reliant on that system. But now, with the AI, it's not incremental. It's going to be exponential. So today is 6 months. The next phase is going in an umbrella, huge way. Like it's going to be, totally different development. The mindset, like today, is, So the speed of it, and actually in my newsletter, I illustrated it with 30 years of development of traditional AI, and it's going to take 3 to 5 years for generative AI to occupy the same market size. That's how it's going to be in the bigger macro scale.
And that's why I wanted to get back to your point, because the real question, and those who've been watching the space see, it's not going to be 2 or 3 years. It's going to be a year and a half, because war is going to accelerate it. And things like the open source AI models that have surpassed OpenAI in 2 to 3 months. The now API driven AI tuning with Gorilla and these other Open Llama and others, they're also putting gasoline and nitroglycerin on top of it. But the good news is the real fight is what you guys were talking about earlier, and I want to ask what you guys think about the big fight between the big founders of Twitter and Facebook and other places about what we use to tune LLMs and whose data, not just companies, not real-time marketplaces, but your individual social network and data that was used by the Web3 companies and used by the social network companies. But now you have a chance to have a voice about how your data is used, and even maybe real-time intent. That bots can find users who have needs if they're using ChatGPT and others to find users who want to find their API or find their tool. That marketplace could be very interesting. What do you guys see and ladies see in that space about data to tune LLMs and data marketplaces, real-time data marketplaces of users, and legacy data sets or real-time data sets like stock markets, and weather, and commodity exchanges, and open source research?
From the company kind of dev tool perspective and just talking about the open source models. So for example, our use case was that when we started off 3 years ago almost, when we built our first model, we didn't really have as many options that we do now. We actually ended up using, if you guys know, T5 as our base model, and then we started off training based on the user data, and also what we could find, good API documentation, etc. But the thing is that now you have so many different open source models that you can leverage. And yes, it does accelerate with the innovation, etc. You can leverage so many options now. But at the same time, I think something to take into consideration is that the cost of training those models, yes, the cost has gone down over the years, but it's depending also what you want to train. Some of the models are very large, so it's not super cheap to train those either. So those are, for example, API based that you can leverage. It's also very interesting depending on your use cases. Also, it could be that it's not really that cheap to use those. Consumer data, you'll be able to respond to that way better. I know that for open source perspective, yes, there are lots of options, but also I feel like they're maybe a little bit too noisy. You still, as a founder, as an engineer, you still need to navigate, you still need to test it, you still need to find what is the right case for you, because not all the models that are available will be right for you. So and there is, again, the cost association.
I do think if we can actually start this conversation and it becomes true that as users, a company can tell us, well, we're collecting your data from these behaviors, but we're using it for these things. And then we get a choice as to which platform to use and how our data is going to be used. Is quite interesting. And all of us as founders and builders have to think about what that conversation looks like and what the greater good is that we're going for. I know that if a company told me that, okay, my medical and physical activity will be collected, that data will go into a data set that might help us one day accomplish a big X for humanity, then I'm going to say yes. But I have to figure out what that looks like for people using my platform right now. Like have a conversation with this virtual recruiter and what is the greater good for humanity and job creation, right? So yeah, I'm prepared to have that conversation.
About the pace of the development, I actually got one good comment last week that somebody said that it might be so that the capability to make new things is now developing in certain areas exponentially, but at the same time, the requirements to be successful in the market are also developing exponentially. So that in that way, it doesn't make always situation easier, or it doesn't even mean that you need less resources because you must do so many things, even you get more effective tools. With the data, there will be a lot of development with the personal data and so on. My experience and what I have seen, it's probably much more important for many individuals that they understand how their data is used, and also that they could utilize it somehow in useful way for themselves. It can be in some cases they want to give it to research, but also to have applications and services that are real value for themselves. I'm still much more skeptical with the models that people could, especially ordinary people, could sell their personal data. It's very complex model. I have been in many discussions about that, how to make the pricing, how to really define how it is used in different cases and so on. So that I feel that in many cases, a kind of other kind of value for individuals is much more useful and much more concrete than a kind of marketplace where you start to sell, for example, to ad targeting or something like that. But we will see how it goes. But at the moment, I'm still skeptical with the marketplaces.
As a user myself, I think there's two sides of the coin. We are going to build a platform in a way, to take care of different preferences. Like you can keep everything private to yourself for the whole journey, or you can choose to share, or you can share, in the community. You can share it with, and so you have choices, and 100% private, or you can share with one friend or two or the whole community, and we hand that completely to the users. But personally speaking, like, yeah, it's a new habit to have for everybody is, do I want my data to be exposed? If I don't, I might not get that personalized, treatment. So it's a choice. Like, yes, you can keep everything private, but how are you going to get the personalized news and resources coming to your door, right? So you have to tell yourself, well, there are certain data I am willing to share it so I can enjoy some personalized or precision, like when we're talking about precision medicine, now you're talking about precision delivery of news and other information to allow the platform to serve you more personally. That means you have to surrender some of your data. Otherwise, how do I know what do you need, right? If I don't have any of your data. So it's a, very interesting, intricate, a very, interesting dynamic. Like how do we choose, to expose our data? It's a personal choice. Meantime, we have to be like wise. How much do I want? That's why nowadays, when you read a piece or article, they ask you, do you want to accept all these cookies or not? You can decline. The same thing, right?
So I think we're at time now. So one more question? Okay, great.
Throw some more time on the clock.
Okay, great.
So my question is for Conversa, where AI is sort of interesting when it's an autonomous agent that's acting on someone's behalf. And so currently you're sort of representing the employer in recruiting. Would your business model consider potentially advocating for the person being recruited, both in terms of saying, actually, you shouldn't work here, this place sucks, or you should work here, but you should ask for $20,000 more. So that's sort of one side of the marketplace. And then the other side of the marketplace, you could basically go into the secondary data market, buy a ton of data about people. Granted, there's probably regulation covering some of that. And then sort of use that to kind of very quickly add additional data on the candidate and filter them out. So how would you balance sort of those sort of two tensions?
Yeah, there's already so much data on a candidate that you can go and get, even just from their resume or their LinkedIn profile, or just looking at their social media behavior. And you could augment all of that with whatever we learn from conversations. So we're first just trying to get it right through these conversations. It was great to hear from our first customer that, oh yeah, we never would have found this person on a stack of resumes. And we want to use it again so that we don't miss the best candidates the next time, right? On the candidate side, there are only so many promises that we can make initially. First, it might be okay, you'll have this conversation, but then we'll come back to you and analyze it and tell you, here are the top 3 things that you said that are going to help you get hired right now. Are we going to actually broker this relationship fully between a candidate and a company and start warning candidates or telling them how to negotiate? Well, there's a lot of material out there about how to negotiate. There are other companies who are trying to do that on, disclosing where is or isn't a good place to work, like Glassdoor or Blind. So we'll let those continue to operate, and we'll broker just one piece of that relationship. And then as we grow and learn the needs, it's something that we're considering. There's probably a lot more to say, so happy to follow up afterwards.
Hi, Sako is here. My question about the challenges and the opportunities you see in fundraising space. We hear a lot, disrupted by AI. Is it a good time to go try to actively raise or try just heads down and build product? What's your experience and recommendations? Thank you.
I can start that. So it's really interesting. We did Y Combinator last year, and when we were in YC, I think in my batch there were only 3 AI companies, and most of them were Web3 and crypto companies. And I was so annoyed that they were getting all this attention and AI companies were not getting attention. And now it's the other way around, and I'm very excited. In general, it is harder now to fundraise than it was, let's say, a year ago. Having said that, AI companies are getting a lot of attention. We, for example, raised $2 million of seed round, and most of it was before the AI boom, but I would say that in general now, especially if you have your own model, and especially if it's a niche, there are some benefits to that, and investors, from what I have seen, investors are interested in that, and there is lots of interest and lots of noise. Doesn't always mean that it actually translates to check your fundraising now, so, right? So, or no, okay. So I don't know how it is for super early pre-seed companies, but for me, for seed, and there is so much interest for Series A and for even Series B that I haven't even started thinking about. So it's interesting, definitely way more than I had during seed round.
No, I would still say it's harder to fundraise, agreed. And I only fundraise if we really need to fundraise, if we say, okay, get this amount of money and it's going to help us achieve these milestones. I raised a small amount for Conversa simply because I introduced it at a hackathon and judges and sponsors wanted to go in on a friends and family round to get it off the ground. But we're being very careful with that, and we're coming back to dollar economics, and we want to see X amount of people will pay X amount for this product, generate revenue, and then if we really validate it, we'll go and raise the amount that we need to achieve growth for the following year. Yeah, only raise when you really need to.
Yeah, I agree that especially now it's good to focus on your business so that you know also how to get your business to work. And of course, money is needed sometimes. I think that it is more difficult now than it used to be. Of course, AI is hot area, but it's also quite a lot noise now, so that there are so many companies that are now AI companies that were maybe the same guys were running crypto companies a year ago. So that it's also relative that what is easy and what is difficult. And I think that if you want to make AI company, it is very important also that you can somehow demonstrate that you really know what you are doing, that it is not enough to say that you make some generative AI.
According to some AI experts like Andrew Ng, they pointed out like there are 2 kinds of startups that can succeed. Is the one who knows the LLM, mechanism and know the fundamentals and can really solve some puzzles, for the fundamental questions. those startups will survive very well. Another one is the one who understand the verticals, who have experiences with the verticals and understand the LLM at the same time. So like you have the substance to back it up. And so a lot of noise are most of those companies just building on top of ChatGPT. And there's so many of them. Like I go to so many events, run into startups like pitching me actually because I invested in startup before, and they are just building some, video functionality. Everybody put it out from, Midjourney or now Code Interpreter. And there's so many of those, and they're not going to last because there's no foundation, there's no substance to it. Everybody can do it. It's so easy now to build a startup, right? And so it's you have to be the expert in one vertical domain, and then take advantage of the system. And that's the one who will survive. So we are lucky that we are in the content development domain. I have been working on this for a long time and accumulated a lot of information and a lot of knowledge. And that's why I'm trying to learn as much about LLM to educate myself so I can integrate it into the vertical I have been working on for a long time. So anyway, that's the
Maybe I can add one more point. People often ask for me also that what to do with fundraising and VCs. I have been in startup business over 20 years. I've done also many investments myself. And I typically say nowadays to people that more and more I see venture capital deals, less and less I understand venture capital business. So that don't ask.
So thank you all. We're at the end of our time. So just want to really thank our experts for coming up here and sharing their wisdom, everyone, and thank you all for.
Thank you, everybody. Maybe if anybody's maybe starting with Chetan and going down the line, just really love to hear maybe in 30 seconds from each person what you really like. What has you really inspired? What has you moved by what you're seeing in the space, the possibility, whatever that happens to be? It could be what you're working on or what you see in the future. Just want to share, what would you like to share as a final word here with the audience?
Thank you. For me, I've been in the AI world for a long time, ever since 15. And so it's really exciting to see where we're at right now. And I really think that AI will really shift our society in some really exciting ways. And I really am holding out for us really having that conversation at a larger level of really steering things in a way for a better world for everyone.
I don't usually get excited by the hyped thing. Web3, just sure, sitting around for it. But I will always remember the day that ChatGPT came out, and I'm always thinking about the possibilities for all of us. But I would still say it is a tool, and we need to bring deep subject matter expertise and knowledge and use it in the right way. So that is what I would say. It's not just going to go and solve all the problems.
Yeah, somebody said to me a few weeks ago that hammer is a very important tool, that you need a hammer for many purposes, but you can also kill people with a hammer. And AI is definitely a tool. It can enable and empower many people, and hopefully it can be used in that way. At the same time, I think that we see also a lot of things that are not so well in the world. So that I think that the important question is also that how people are going to use all these tools and how much they want to make the world better and how much they just want to do something else.
I want to make 2 points. One is I am an artist. I do oil painting. I am a writer. I have been very lucky. I am a published poet, and I had my solo exhibition at Stanford. And it's not about boasting about myself. And among my friends, they consider me as a very gifted person. And for me, it came very easy. Now, the one point got me excited now is I am so happy watching so many people adapting to the ChatGPT. It's like these people like are so bad at writing. They are so afraid of writing. Now they are enjoying it. You know, it opens up all these black box for them. And then also so many people who would never ever dream about painting, creating artworks because they don't think they have the gift. And now they are able to jump in, you know, create artworks, express themselves artistically. And I think this is going to change a lot. Like art and writing for thousands of years only belong to very few individuals, very few. Now, watching the landscape, millions of kids, millions of people, including adults, who are afraid of writing, afraid of artwork, afraid of that in that creative side, they are opening up, they are enjoying it. And some kids with difficulty, you know, autism, all kind of things, they are able to enjoy it. So that excites me every day. And the second point is education is going to change fundamentally. Like I was the one, I escaped school all the time, although I was the best student, but I hate going to the classroom to be in among hundreds of people in that big classroom. It's, you know, too boring for me. And I would rather to study by myself. Now, with AI assistant, it's going to personalize education. And this is going to change a lot. Well, although it's going to threaten the jobs for a lot of teachers, however, the teachers can turn themselves into conductors to help to build more personalized educational software, to personalize, you know, education for the future. So our future generation will have totally different experiences. Also with the tools more visualized, they are going to have total different kind of imagination about all kind of about the universe, about the quantum world that's going to open up for them. So I see that and that excites me every day, make me happy.
There's going to be a lot of amazing AI startups that will do an amazing job and really improve people's lives. We have seen here today Almond, who does amazing work with Alzheimer's, and it's really amazing to see new startups that will come. For me, I'm an engineer, so I'm just making their life easier. In my case, making APIs easier to document and to use. So I'm also super excited to see how this space is growing and how people, especially engineers, are contributing from open source just to even this event. It's amazing to see so many interesting people to talk about, have this discussion. So I'm just excited about this space and excited about events like this.
I want to thank you all. Thanks, Chetan. Thanks, Malinda. Thanks, Jouko. Which one was better, 1, 2, or 3? And Karolyn and Anna, thank you very much. And I hope you'll stick around and talk to people. We're going to move into a portion of the evening right now where it's going to be more demos and networking. But before we break from where we are right now, would like to invite up anybody who's demoing, even starting with the panel. So if maybe everybody will step down, but then we'll give folks 1 minute to step up and talk about their projects and pitch, and maybe pop up a laptop if you have something to demo in the back. So if you would like to take that opportunity, please just line up over here on the side. And then anybody who is demoing here tonight, please line up. Each person will have 60 seconds. And then behind them, if anybody would like to introduce themselves, introduce what they're working on, would like to invite you up as well, and maybe give you a 15-second commercial, because time is of the essence, and we want to turn on the lights and maybe get a few drinks, have some more snacks, get back to networking and demos. So please step up. Who would like to take the mic and tell us about what you're demoing? And I know Amand is here, so Amand, please come up. Lindsay? Maybe not. Okay, if anybody would like to come up and introduce themselves, take a few seconds. We'll put 15 seconds on the clock. You can introduce yourself and your project to the crowd. Otherwise, just let you network amongst yourselves. Before we close out, I just want to thank again. I want to thank Fame Venue and Francesca and all the folks here. We've got Howie and Michael and, of course, Eric on the video. Want to also thank the folks that have been working with AIFI. We have Neil here. We have John. So please get to meet people. This is all about meeting people, figuring out what we all do in the space, and how we can contribute to each other. Thanks a lot.